Hi, this is My Cheating Diary. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next story. Now, let's begin. I sat in the living room, flipping through a glossy magazine, my fingers moving automatically while my eyes refused to take in a single word. The silence around me wasn't peaceful, it was oppressive, a constant reminder of how predictable and hollow my life had become. Ethan, my husband, was gone again, off on yet another long business trip, just as he always seemed to be. I had told myself I was used to it, that his absence had become part of the rhythm of our marriage, but lately it felt less like a rhythm and more like a void pressing in from every side. The passion we once had, the fire, the recklessness, had cooled to nothing but habit, and that habit had crumbled into something so lifeless it scared me. Some nights, staring at the empty rooms, a question clawed at me like a whisper I couldn't silence. Is this really all that's left for me? The sudden, sharp slam of a car door outside jolted me from my drifting thoughts. My heart gave a quick jump, and I rose almost instinctively, peering through the window. Across the driveway, I saw Mason, Ethan's nephew, heading toward the house with that familiar stride of his. There was something about him, something both disarming and magnetic. His confidence wasn't heavy or arrogant. It was easy, natural, almost playful. I opened the door, and he greeted me with a warm, effortless smile, one that seemed to pull the air out of the room. Uncle Ethan asked me to pick up some property papers, he explained casually, his tone light, though his presence seemed to bring a sudden spark of energy into the stillness of the house. As I let him in, I couldn't help but notice, again, just how different he was from Ethan. Where Ethan's movements were measured and restrained, Mason moved with a kind of carefree boldness, his every gesture infused with a spontaneity that felt foreign to me now. He tossed his bag onto the couch with a careless sweep, glanced around, and complimented the house with a grin that reached his eyes. We sat down together, and soon he launched into story after story, lively, colorful tales laced with humor. His words painted scenes vivid enough to momentarily lift me out of my own world. I found myself laughing in a way I hadn't for so long that the sound startled me. In those few minutes, with his voice filling the space, I forgot everything. Ethan's absence, propriety, the rigid cage of my everyday life. For the first time in years, I felt like a version of myself I had thought was gone. Then it happened, so small a moment, yet it unsettled me. When Mason reached for a glass of water, our hands brushed. Just a fleeting touch, nothing more, but it sent a wave of confusion through me that I couldn't ignore. I recoiled a little too quickly, cheeks hot, blood rushing to my ears. He noticed, of course he noticed. "You okay?" he asked softly, his eyes fixed on me with an attentiveness that was almost unbearable. I fumbled for an excuse, muttering something about the room being too warm, though the heat was all inside me, coiled, tight, and restless. My chest rose and fell too fast. He lingered near the doorway then, leaning with casual ease, but his eyes were sharp, unwavering. "You seem different today," he said, voice low, almost testing. Different how? I tried to sound offhand, as though the question didn't strike straight to the heart. More alive. That word, alive, hit me like a shock. It had been years since anyone looked at me with such sincerity, as though they truly saw me beneath all the layers I wore each day. My throat tightened. I told him, almost in a whisper, that he should probably go. But instead of moving toward the door, he stepped closer, his gaze locking with mine. The air between us shifted, heavier now, charged with something I didn't want to name. My heart thundered in my chest so loud I was sure he could hear it. "This isn't right," I whispered, breath unsteady. "I know," he murmured back, his voice soft, steady. "But doesn't it feel true?" He reached for my hand, slow and deliberate, and this time I didn't pull away. For one endless heartbeat, the rest of the world fell away. No marriage, no family, no rules, nothing. Just him and me. The distance between us collapsing. My mind screamed consequences. Ethan, the betrayal, the shame that would follow. But I stood frozen, caught in the weight of the moment. And then, suddenly, the sharp sound of the front door opening sliced through the air like a blade. We jerked apart, the spell broken. Dylan, another cousin, stepped inside, his eyes flicking immediately between us. His gaze was sharp, calculating, suspicious. "Am I interrupting?" he asked slowly, letting the question hang in the air. I forced a laugh that cracked, brittle and hollow. "No, Mason was just here for some papers," I said, trying to steady my voice. "Yeah," Mason added smoothly, without missing a beat. "I was just heading out." But Dylan's eyes lingered on us, dark with doubt. His mouth twisted slightly as he said, "That's strange. Uncle asked me to grab those same papers." The excuse began unraveling in my hands like thread pulling from a frayed seam. My stomach clenched, twisting with panic. I darted a look at Mason, but he only shrugged, still wearing that easy, unconcerned smile, as though nothing were out of place. Dylan wasn't convinced. His gaze lingered on me for a moment too long, searching, before he finally turned and left, leaving the front door slightly ajar behind him. The creak of it echoed like an accusation. The silence that followed was suffocating. The warmth, the playfulness from earlier, it all vanished, replaced by a weight that pressed down on both of us. Mason's face, once so open and easy to read, now gave nothing away. His eyes seemed guarded, calculating, as he studied me. I could barely breathe, my chest tightening with guilt so sharp it burned. Just minutes ago, I had stood on the edge of a line I could never uncross. The desire that had nearly consumed me drained away, leaving only shame, fear, and the dreadful awareness that everything, my marriage, my reputation, the fragile balance of family, could shatter if even a sliver of the truth ever came to light. And in that awful stillness, I asked myself, how had I let it go this far? Thanks for being part of this story. If you'd like to hear more, feel free to subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next diary entry. I'm curious, what do you think about this one? Maybe you've lived through something similar. Drop your story in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to listen.